Okay, so I'm going to get into my recommendations, and this, if you have questions, this is where where you should be posting your questions now, and let me answer them for you. I've been selling on e-commerce or through e-commerce since 2001, so for 20 years now. And I started with a website back then, and I advertised through pay-per-click advertising back then. So that's what I handled. And also, I did my own fulfillment. I had a back room in my office, and I actually hired my nephew to be my shipper. And he would come in and ship everything, and we shipped it all through UPS at that time. So I had the website, I had the marketing and advertising, and I had the fulfillment, all three things. Don't go that route to start. It was not necessarily easy then, but it's definitely become more challenging since then, especially the marketing and the advertising part. So here's my recommendations. And this is how you develop out these three pillars of e-commerce success. The first is to focus on your sourcing. And I think you're probably doing that now. If you're selling on arbitrage through Amazon FBA, that's the main thing that you're focusing on is sourcing. And I'd also like to suggest you focus on building a stable of replenishable products. Now, the discount clearance products are great because they have really nice margins. But building a stable of replenishable products, products that you can order again and again and again, is really what you need to do to be able to automate this system fully. So whether it's coming from wholesale sources or private label sources or POD, or whether you're doing replens from retail arbitrage, online arbitrage, that's okay too. It's products that you can order again and again. They're not limited in their quantity. Okay, so that's my very first recommendation is do that first. Now, once you have that replenishable products, that stable of replenishable products, or that you're building that stable of replenishable products, here's where you really start to focus on the second step, which is automate systems. And you want to have reliable, predictable systems, and you're probably going to have a team of people in place. Start with one person. Maybe it's your product researcher. The second person might be the person that manages customer sales, manages your orders. Perhaps you take it further and you do what I've done, which is to have somebody that ships all my products for me. In fact, that was my very first employee, was a person that shipped. Get your team in place for these processes, and then delegate all those routine tasks in your business to your team or to software or to third-party services. Get that in place so you have these reliable, predictable systems and software, team members, third-party systems, third-party services to handle all those routine tasks. So you no longer, the goal should be that you no longer work in your business, you work on your business. And then number three, this is where you're building assets, that stage of building a business that you can sell, or you can, it'll be a legacy business that'll just keep going on and on and on. You can hand it down to family members if you wish. And my recommendation here is to specialize in a specific market. Now, if you remember my Etsy store where I showed you the products with the stethoscope on it, who's the market? The market is medical personnel, nurses and doctors especially. That's who receives that product. That's the end user of that product. And then to build a brand. You can sell somebody else's brand. That's totally okay. And that store of yours that sells other brands can be worth a lot of money. But having a brand, which is a product that you can sell again and again and again, and people recognize it, in fact, they search for their brand, that's going to add so much more value to your business. And investors who want to buy a business like that, they're looking for brands, and they're looking for specific markets to sell to. Often people that buy, or businesses that buy Amazon businesses, existing Amazon businesses, are trying to expand their reach by reaching either more people in a specific market or adding an additional similar market. Let's say that they sell sporting goods, and now they want to branch into yoga. So they might be looking for a brand on Amazon that sells yoga equipment. And then lastly is to gain control of your product supply chain. And this is what's lacking with arbitrage. This is really the problem here with arbitrage, is that you're dependent upon retail stores carrying the product. And if they no longer carry the product, it's no longer available. So when you start ordering from wholesale, you're still dependent upon the wholesale supplier, but at least they are more predictable. And ultimately, you want to be going to a manufacturer or be manufacturing that product yourself. So that would have full control of the product supply chain. So remember, first thing is to get your product sourcing handled. The second is to put in systems and to delegate all those routine systems to others where you're no longer doing them yourself. And the third is to start branding to a specific market and to gain control of your product's supply chain. Okay, I'm going to take a couple of questions, or at least there's one question I see over here from David. David's asking, do you need a warehouse eventually to store, or do you recommend a fulfillment company to store and ship to Amazon FBA? So you know Amazon does store products, right? But they have put limits on it. So if you're buying from China, let's say, and you need to buy 1,000 units as a minimum order. In fact, it's something that's called MOQ, which stands for minimum order quantity. And when you contact a manufacturer, you're asking, well, what's the MOQ, the minimum order quantity? They may say 1,000 units. Amazon may only be willing to accept 200 units. So that means you're going to have to be warehousing. You're going to have to, somebody's going to have to hold that product for you. Now there's those third-party shippers that I mentioned. They have warehousing. Dr. Josie Shepard is one of our coaches and trainers. She owns a FBA fulfillment or FBA prep company called Prep It, Pack It, Ship It, but she also does fulfillment for Walmart and for all, I guess you could call third-party sales, like through a website, for instance. She will do merchant fulfillment for you, and she will warehouse your products. So she's on the West Coast. You order from China, have it sent directly to her facility. Now, this is a third party, right? And you're outsourcing, you're delegating this task to a third party. So it's wholeheartedly recommended. Then what she does is she warehouses that 1,000 units. She sends 200 into Amazon FBA. If you have sales coming in through your own website or social media, she'll ship those. If you have sales through Walmart, she'll fulfill those for you. So that third-party service like hers will handle this for you. It's a great question. Chioma, how can I get around ordering from wholesale? Well, let me tell you about that. I'm assuming you're talking about how can I learn more about ordering wholesale. Go back in our Facebook page. This is our e-commerce Facebook page, to the Saturday Morning Live broadcast of October 9th, 2021. And I had a little product sourcing challenge, wholesale versus replens, and what's the difference between the two. So I talked again about these product sourcing models. I went into more depth about what's required with those product sourcing models, and then weighed the two. Are you doing replens sourcing from arbitrage, or are you focusing on wholesale? And by the way, wholesale is a way of doing replens, but in this particular case, when we're talking replens, we're talking about from retail stores. And let me grab this link here. It's a long link, isn't it? Lots of numbers. So I'm going to grab that, and I'm going to put that into chat right now. So that's that Facebook video. Go back and watch that if you haven't seen it already, the product sourcing challenge of wholesale replens.
It used to be said if you're not online, you're not in business. That's from like 15 years ago. All right. Now it's that if you're not on Amazon, you're not in business.
Regardless of that big dream, you've got to build a foundation. You have to have a business that has cash flow.
You need more cash? Go out and source some more. Shove those products into Amazon. What's going to spit out the other end is profit. It's that simple, isn't it?
Then they start looking at it as this really is a system. So how can I add more to my system? How can I start to scale this?
That's why this is so integral, each pillar leading up sequentially to that long-term reliable business.
These are the real assets then that somebody who wants to buy a business, this is what they look for.
This is the brand launcher, the career launcher, the income launcher. It's a beautiful thing. And I know you're gonna love what this can do for you. You're gonna get a vision. You're gonna get a vision to grow your business, to sell it for a profit, kind of show your pals, your friends, your family.
Yes, you can make $1 million just selling on Amazon alone.